Hello and welcome to the Galactic Core podcast. My name is Chef and I am your host as each week I discuss the latest TV episodes, films, games and whatever else takes my fancy from the worlds of Star Wars, Marvel, DC and anything else nerdy and geeky in between. If this is the first time that you found us, then please do give us a follow on our social media pages. You'll find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and also Twitch, where I do, not always successfully, but I do try and game a couple of times a week. You can find all the links in the episode description, and please make sure that you're giving the show a like, a follow, and a review on whichever platform it is that you listen or watch on. It really does mean the world to hear that you are liking and enjoying the show. Right now, we're going to get straight into the main event. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode.
I recognize the council has made a decision, but given that it's a stupid-ass decision, I've elected to ignore it.
So, on to today's episode, we are going to be discussing Secret Invasion Episode 6, entitled Home, the finale to this 6-episode series of what has been a fairly good series so far, and we're obviously going to get a little bit further into what's been going on today's episode. I do, of course, have a guest to join me. I am extremely lucky that this guy keeps coming back. He's a glutton for punishment, obviously. Loves to come and jump on the show and help me out. He is a real superstar. I've kind of run out of really good things to say, to be fair, because I've tried and go all out for my introductions, and I just really don't know what else to say about this guy, because he's a legend. He's got a fantastic podcast. The first time I've had a guest on the show 3 times, so he's rocking all the records here. He's had the longest episode that we've recorded as well. So he's an absolute legend to have on the show. Welcome back, Leigh, from the Lights, Camera, Rant podcasts.
Thank you. Man, you're too nice. I'm just happy that you keep inviting me back. I'm glad that we have the longest episode together. And I have no doubt this won't be the last time, but it's always a pleasure. Like, you nail it. I love your show, and I still can't believe that this is only your 14th episode.
I know.
Like, it feels like you've been doing it longer.
Just kind of feel like that now, to be fair. I think it's all the late nights and middle of the night recordings that I've done over the last few months, to be fair. So
yeah, because like, what time is it over there right now?
It's about 11:30 in the evening right now. Yeah.
It's 8:30 here in the morning.
Well, I mean, you're a trooper, and you've gotten up early a few times to do it. So we've actually been kind of lucky with our episodes because they don't fall too badly for our time zones in terms of timings. I think it's when we both have American people on that they get a bit ropey.
Yeah, that's when it gets a little bit more dicey. We're between like 7 o'clock on one night or 4 o'clock in one morning, but it's well worth it. You do it for the guest, and you do it for these great chats. So it's well worth it. So anytime like I have someone who's from Australia, I'm like, oh, the time zone. I'm like, oh, yeah, same time. We can record. It's a lot easier.
Absolutely, yeah.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
You're damn right I could do this all day. And like as I said before we started recording, I'm so sorry about my voice. And I sound like I'm about to ask you where the drugs are going. Or where are you? But this is not how I normally sound.
To be fair, you do sound a little bit gruffer than normal, but that's absolutely fine. I'm sure it'll maybe attract a few more viewers because of it. It's like Leigh's deepened his voice a bit. I like this new gruff Leigh. Let's go over and listen.
How can I help you? How can I help you today? Marvel and DC at the moment is going to be really fantastic.
But, Leigh, before we chat about anything, I do have one question for you though.
Shoot.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
No, I'm right here. Let's go. I am loving these Audio Man things.
Sorry, I was watching Winter Soldier, the film, earlier on this evening, so I was just like, I love that clip. I'm going to put that on there as well. So,
and that's such a good scene.
It is one of my favourite scenes, the elevator scene. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. And I love I was gonna love how it turned into a meme too.
Oh yeah, it's given us a lot of gifts, to be fair, that scene. So
Yeah.
I always love it when he's obviously everyone's coming into the elevator, and I sort of say to the half earlier that all of a sudden you get these guys in suits walk in, and they're looking a bit buff, to be fair, to be like Shield guys in suits at the Triskelion. So and everyone else you see in suits is generally tall and skinny and quite nerdy, and then you've got these like buff, musty guys who just look at Cap with a bit of disdain and like, "Excuse me, get out of my way. I need to stand in this spot here."
Yeah, let's all cram into it.
And just the way they obviously think Cap is stupid and it isn't working out that everyone's coming in there to try and kick his ass. So
Yeah, or everyone's sweating.
I know that's what they're so nervous. They're like, "Oh my god, we've got to take out Cap. How are we going to do this?"
Yeah, exactly right. Hail Hydra.
No, don't do it. I know you're a Skrull. Don't be doing that to me.
Yeah,
That's why you sound different this week, Skrull.
Yeah.
Skrull Leigh.
It's true. I'm not going to cut off my finger to prove it.
But still, what was it? 9 years since Winter Soldier film came out, 2014, and it still stands up to me as one of the best MCU films.
Oh, it does. It's one of the top tiers in the Marvel, and it's because it's coming off the back for Avengers, coming back into his first sequel. I think it was after Iron Man 3 came out.
Yeah,
and a big thing is, I highly debate with a lot of people is that I think Cap still has the best trilogy. Yes, there is Iron Man, but for like 1, 2, and 3, solid film, and Cap has the best trilogy.
I don't think I can disagree with that. I was trying to remember back to when I was doing my Guardians of the Galaxy 3 review, the guest I had on then, we were chatting about what was our favourite trilogies of the MCU. And I'm hoping I said Cap was top because I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But I can't disagree, to be fair, that I think Cap has to be up there as one of the best. I love the Iron Man trilogy. I know not a lot of people are a fan. A lot of people were not a fan of Iron Man 2 and not necessarily Iron Man 3 either. I still really rate the Iron Man trilogy as a whole.
Oh, yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. It have to be like, for me, it'd probably be Cap, Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy. Actually, no, I lie. Cap, Guardians of the Galaxy, Iron Man for me.
I think because I had big issues with Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I have it quite low on my overall MCU ranking list. I know that I'm a bit controversial with my rankings at times, but I did have that one low. And I think I said the reason I put it so low is it is the only MCU film I've ever gone to see where I fell asleep in the cinema. It may have been because post Endgame, we don't do midnight viewings anymore of films, but every MCU film before that, I did a midnight viewing. And so maybe it was the time of night, maybe it was a combination of things, but yeah, only MCU film I've fallen asleep to, and I had to go back and watch it a second time to see it generally for the first time. So I don't think it held my attention too much. I've watched it a few times since and gone, I'm still not that fussed about it, to be fair. So the Guardians trilogy, because of that, sits a little bit lower for me. But yeah, I think Cap, Iron Man, Guardians. I probably changed my ranking from when I did it last time, so who knows? But I think Ant-Man was fairly low on the list. Spider-Man's got to be close up there, surely. So
Spider-Man would be. Not to go on a full ranking, but yeah, Cap, Iron Man, Cap, Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man 3, and then Iron Man. Sorry, Spider-Man trilogy. The only reason why I put Guardians of the Galaxy higher than Spider-Man is because, don't get me wrong, No Way Home was great, but there was a lot of nostalgia in that, where Guardians of the Galaxy was a full, it wasn't relying on nostalgia.
See, I'm starting to get to that age now where I do this old person stuff where I just thrive on nostalgia. My Spotify playlist is all late 90s and early 2000s. I love nostalgia things now. I'm not too far off from turning 40 bloody years old. So it's bullshit. To me, it's all about the nostalgia coming back for me at this age. So,
Well, you're going to feel a lot of nostalgia in Deadpool 3.
Oh, God, let's hope so.
Apparently, everyone who's rocking up.
It's just everyone that's been in any Fox or MCU type film or any Marvel type film for the last 30 years. Let's get you in there, shall we? So
that's how I think it's going to happen, because I saw another report the other day that was like Wanda is meant to be in it, and she's going to be versing Jean Grey from the original X-Men trilogy. I was like, These are just getting as absurd as what Doctor Strange was.
I think because it's Deadpool though, and he can break the fourth wall, he's going to be making huge jokes in it. That
Oh yeah.
all those moments are going to be probably more epic than Multiverse of Madness. So
I'm so down for it. Which unfortunately,
can't
I
wait.
feel like at this stage it will be pushed back, even though it's just been pushed forward.
I know it's a bit weird that they had the writers' strike and then they brought it forward by 6 months or so, didn't they? So it's going to be like
No.
supposedly May next year.
Other way around. They announced it was going forward, and I think about 2 weeks later, bang.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. I thought they announced it after the writers' strike had started.
Yeah. So I guess they were on track to come out earlier, which, funny enough, as we were just talking before we start recording, delays. Delay. Not to go off topic, but for Craven the Hunter fans, next year, Ghostbusters next year.
You were the one that told me about it because I was engrossed in my film all evening. So just tell us quickly what's been delayed. When's it been delayed to?
Craven the Hunter's been pushed back until I think August next year. Currently, right now, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Beyond the Spider-Verse, that currently has no release date. And Ghostbusters 5 or Afterlife 2 has been pushed back from December to March. And there was something else that got pushed back. But that was as we were about to go record this, as we were about to jump on, I looked at my phone and it said, delays. I was like, oh, god damn it.
So bad news for those that are Craven the Hunter fans, obviously Spider-Verse and Ghostbusters fans, such as myself. So gutted for delays. To be fair, for some reason Ghostbusters doesn't surprise me, simply because I'd heard absolutely next to nothing about this. I'd seen no clips of anything. There was nothing at all. So and that was supposed to be December. So it's only supposed to be 4 months away. So
right. I'm
not surprised that's been a bit surprised at Craven because we're literally 7-8 weeks away from that being released.
Yeah, so we've had the 2 trailers.
The trailers,
yeah. That's like it kind of reminds me of Suicide Squad when we got the first trailer and then didn't come out for a year. So
it wouldn't surprise me to see other things get delayed. From what I've heard, the Aquaman film's in trouble because they keep having to do reshoots because they don't like it.
Yeah, that's not looking good either. I spoke about that in my last week's episode. That's really not. Apparently, that's in shambles. But I don't fully understand why it's in shambles because it's the same team behind it. So you still have the same cast. You still have the same director. I'm guessing, as always, it's WB putting their finger in too much.
I wondered that, but I wondered if maybe it was the fact that they're trying to change stuff because of they're changing the DCEU to the DCU. So is maybe James Gunn stuck in there and gone, look, we need to set some things different because we need this transition coming over. Because the whole thing of Blue Beetle being the first official character of the new DCU, but the Aquaman being the one that technically closes off the DCEU. So are they changing it to try and transition more smoothly into it? Because it's gone from a complete reboot to a soft reboot in a way as well, so who fucking knows, to be fair.
I know it would become one of those debates in future of like how much did James Gunn involve himself in the current projects, like were they already doomed, were they already on track to be doomed and James Gunn actually hasn't touched them at all?
I don't know. DC's a hot mess right now, so
it is, because remember we were meant to get Aquaman in March. I think it was March we were meant to get Aquaman.
I don't know what's going on. I just don't trust anything they're saying now until a film is actually out in the cinema. So
no, it's getting like that, isn't it? Even video games. Don't trust it until you actually see it on the store, on the shelves.
But one film that we know that isn't being delayed, and we had a trailer for it last week, is the new the Marvels film, Captain Marvel 2, technically. Been described as a bit of a sequel to Secret Invasion as well. Have you watched that new trailer? What were you thinking about it now we've got a bit more info?
Have I watched the trailer? Have I?
Of course you have.
I
Of course
have
you
no
fucking have.
life. This is my life. I did, and I thought honestly, when I first saw the first trailer, I was like, this looks awful. Like this is nothing exciting. But this second trailer was a lot better than the first one. Higher, further, faster, baby. But there looks a lot better. I'm a lot more intrigued now into the story. And look, I hope it's going to be good. I fingers crossed. It's going to be interesting. The fact that I forgot the villain's name, but looks like she's got the mallet or the hammer
Yeah.
from Ronin.
Even though
From
that was blown up.
Yeah, I know. But no, it looks good, and like all the new costumes look great.
I can't. Can you? I got it.
Yeah.
So I'm quite hyped for this film now. To be fair, I was thinking all right from the first trailer. Obviously, we didn't get too much info, but it looked interesting enough. Obviously, it's been a sort of long setup because technically we got what was it like the post credit scene from Ms. Marvel sort of set it up with Captain.
WandaVision.
So it's been a long road to get to this point.
Well, that's right. Yeah, actually, good point. Because that's Secret Invasion, that's WandaVision, that's Miss Marvel, and that's Captain Marvel, the first one, leading into this. And I would say probably Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
Sorry, Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
1. So to be fair, if Disney Plus do that little section they always do of like things to catch up on before, there's
Marvel
plenty
Legends.
there to plenty to catch up on before that film comes out. If anyone wants to watch it, so. But I'm quite hyped for it now. I like the combination of these characters. The idea is interesting that obviously the Bangle from Ms. Marvel is playing a part because there seems to be a second one that the Kree villain has, but somehow they entangle their powers. And so each time they use it, they seem to swap bodies or positions or whatever from where they are. So interesting concept.
Which I do have a question about that later too.
Okay, we'll get to that later. Feel free to spring that on me at any random point that you like.
We will. We'll get to it. And once I ask it, you're like, okay, that makes sense.
Fair enough. But what is it you're most looking forward to about this film? Is it the mix of the new characters that are in there, the fact that we are getting the return of the Kree, since obviously there was a bit of a Kree reference at the end of Secret Invasion episode as well. So what is it you're most going to be looking forward to about this film?
I think what I'm most looking forward to is I'm kind of happy that this is another space film. Like I'm kind of like this is going into space again. Like don't get me wrong, like the story on Earth is great, like like Wakanda, but I feel like there's still so much out there in the space of Marvel than just on Earth. Happy to see Captain Marvel back. Very excited to see Kamala Khan. Like, don't get me wrong, like I wasn't a big fan of her show, but I do like her character. I do like how optimistic she is in this universe, and like that generation kind of hero, like Spider-Man, like looking up to her heroes, like that. I think that'll look really good. And obviously, I'm not going to say no to Nick Fury and find out what the space station is meant to do. Is this meant to be like the Watchtower from Justice League with a giant ass weapon on it?
That's what I'd always been assuming. They built a space station to protect Earth, from up there and see what was going on. Obviously, we don't know. We know nothing about Saber. It's going to be interesting to see. Is it a part of SWORD? Is it done by the government? Because obviously, we've seen in Secret Invasion the president talking about Fury up there, and so is the president in charge of it? Who's in charge? We don't know anymore.
Well, that's the interesting thing, and I love how the fact we've come to the point in this universe where from a helicarrier to a space station.
Yeah.
And it makes perfect sense. You got to think how much has happened to this Earth in the past 10 years or so, and you'd be like, yeah, look, we're going to need like space station, bigger defenses, because there seems to be new villains and new heroes every 2 seconds.
Could they possibly need a suit of armor around the world protecting them?
That sounds like a cold world.
An Ultron world, to be fair.
That's very true. But I'm down for it.
I'd be down. There's the rumor that Ultron may return in Armor Wars. That's what I was reading recently as well.
I feel like there's been a rumor about Ultron coming
Yeah.
back so many different times, and like to me, he is one of the top tier villains. But I don't. Because the type of villain he is, I don't want to see him in a TV show. I'd rather see him in like a movie that holy shit you're back, and
Yeah,
there is no Avengers.
It needs to be a big reveal, not a TV show reveal. To be fair, it can't be one that people are only half watching. To be fair, it needs to be a big one.
No, and technically Ultron did come back in Doctor Strange.
Well, the Ultron bots, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Because it was basically like, in that universe, Tony Stark's program technically worked as it should have done, and therefore they've got the Ultron bots and things are working properly in that universe, as opposed to our one where it didn't quite go so well.
No,
Or the What If universe where it definitely did not go well. So
no, not well for Thanos either.
But
But what are you excited for it?
oh
Like, are you-
yeah. I am, to be fair.
I think it will be better than. I think for this year it will be Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel's, Ant-Man Quantumania.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I watched that man not too long ago again, and I was just like, yeah, it just annoys me a little bit because I was excited for Kang, and I love Kang bits of the film. I think like everyone did, and then but this was not a wrap up film for the Ant-Man trilogy like it should have been. This was the beginning of Phase 5 and a setup for the next 2 to 3 phases to come, which was a little bit annoying because it didn't really bring an end to the Ant-Man story like every trilogy has done for each character so far. In a trilogy setting.
And the hard thing about it is too, I will admit, is that the last 2 Marvel films that we have gotten, hands down, the villains have been outstanding, top tier. Both Kang and his performance of Jonathan Majors, and I can't pronounce the other bloke's name because it's like New Zealand or something, as High Revolutionary. Like both villains have been so good. But
yeah, they've
everything
up their game.
But for Ant-Man, everything around it.
Yeah, well, it's done and dusted. With nothing we can do to change that now. Let's just look forward to more Kang appearances. Is how I look at it from that one.
Which we're going to, because we had the first poster for Loki Season 2 dropped today.
Indeed. How excited are you for Loki Season 2?
I'm really excited. I love the first season of Loki. I felt like it was such every time an episode. I think every single episode except for I think one. I was like, I can't wait for the next episode. I think the one where they were trying to escape the planet because it was exploding. I think that was the one I was a bit like, okay. But everything else and the ending to that whole season was so ambiguous. So it's just going to be such a fun ride.
I think that final episode of Loki is just, you don't realise how much effect that has on the wider MCU until we've got a bit more to this kind of stage now, where you're like, oh crap, the whole end game of where does Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars go? They're going to obviously change it because obviously He Who Remains has lived through this and he knows how it goes, and technically he is the Kang that wins all. Because he's the one that weaponizes Goliath, he wins the multiversal war and sets up the sacred timeline, and obviously it's doomed to repeat itself. But obviously there's going to be a way that come Kang Dynasty and Secret War that changes, and the group of Avengers and heroes that we get are going to be able to break that pattern and move forward from there. But the multiversal effect that show has had on the further MCU is the one that has really started it all and is unleashing it all.
Yeah,
and you know very well I rate the Loki series very, very highly. I was a big fan of it, and this is probably in my top 3 season 2 the things I'm most looking forward to. I think the closer Deadpool gets, the more excited I get for that because of Deadpool's great character, Ryan Reynolds' great in it, and everything that's going to be in that film. And if I exclude things like Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, which I'm probably super, super excited for, Loki, Daredevil, and Deadpool are the top 3 for me, in no specific order, but the top 3 things. So Loki season 2, I am super psyched for.
Yeah, interesting. Actually, you mentioned about Daredevil because I did see a news report where someone asked Vincent D'Onofrio, is Murdoch and
Nelson and Murdoch.
yeah, are they defunct or what's happened with that? And apparently Vincent D'Onofrio just replied back saying patience,
Yeah.
patience. So so which means they have to address it. They have to address it. But I'm right there with you right now. Loki season 2. I will enjoy Echo because Daredevil Kingpin is meant to be in it.
Yeah.
Deadpool 2, so Deadpool 3, Daredevil, and I'm curious to know about Armor Wars. That's got my curiosity.
I mean, if the rumors stay true to that, and we get the Punisher in Armor Wars as well, like we did with the War Machine armor in the comics, then I'm going to be even more hyped to that. I was already sort of looking forward to that, especially with what's happened with Rhodey in Secret Invasion, and if we get the Punisher thrown in there as well as maybe the next person to take over the War Machine armor, oof, I'm going to be having a very happy time. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Sorry, can't wait.
Absolutely. Let's move on then. I've got a nice, my new weekly game when I'm reviewing a Marvel show for you. So we are going to be playing MCU or Real Life You. So welcome to this week's game of MCU or Real Life You. What I'm going to be doing, Leigh, is I'm going to be giving you an MCU character and their real life counterpart, the actor that plays them. And you are going to tell me who you would rather have dinner with and a quick little reason as to why.
Okay.
So first up for you, this is all inspired by the film I was watching earlier. So we're going to start off with Steve Rogers, Captain America, or the amazing Chris Evans.
I would have dinner with Steve Rogers. I'd have dinner with him and just ask him every Avengers question. and if he's really a virgin.
I'm not sure he'd answer that question, to be fair.
I'm like, well, Bruce told us.
Well, supposedly. Yeah. I mean, maybe he was just saying that to get them off his back a little bit, but
yeah. And I would want him to sign a few things too.
Nice. I think I probably would have gone for Chris Evans in this one. Actually, yeah. A lot of the interviews and things like that I've seen him on. He's obviously looks like a very fun, bubbly, mischievous little character. Yeah. I think I'd like to see that over the course of a dinner and see how he acts.
Well, I thought Chris Evans, but I thought, well, how often would you actually have dinner with Steve Rogers, Captain America?
This is true.
Yeah.
Dinner with a proper icon? No, fair enough.
Yeah, exactly right. Actually, I can't even tell you what the last thing Chris Evans was in. Oh, he was in some Skydance movie.
Was he? I mean, he was in that Apple film with Ana de Armas, wasn't he?
That's it. That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but
nah, it's like Collateral. No, but yeah.
And then before that, he was in a Netflix film.
With the Russo brothers. Yes,
yeah. So he's done a few things outside of the MCU recently. Well, I guess his contract's up now. He's not going to be really back at all, is he? So.
No, he's not coming back at all, which is fully understandable. You've done everything.
Fair enough. Steve Rogers is your dinner guest there, then. So
yes, he
next
is.
up, Natasha Romanoff or Scarlett Johansson.
Look, I feel like Natasha Romanoff will probably kill me, so I will go with Scarlett Johansson. I feel like that's a safer bet, and I'm still very curious to know what is the Marvel project that she is working on currently.
If that's even still a thing, to be fair.
Yes.
To be fair, you had very similar reasoning to my guest last week when I gave him Wanda Maximoff or Elizabeth Olsen. He's like, I don't want to have dinner with Wanda because she could just mind zap you or make you believe stuff you don't want to do.
Yeah.
So
if you diss her kids,
yeah, God forbid that happens. So otherwise you won't have a mouth. You won't be talking for the rest of dinner.
No, but you probably find out why she's called the Black Widow. Actually, it's funny. Actually, I saw Mission Impossible recently, and they're like, "Oh, no, this chick Vanessa, I can't remember her last name." Was like, "Oh yeah, she's the White Widow," and I'm like, "Yeah, it doesn't have the same ring to it." Nah.
I think it was like in Arrow / Legends of Tomorrow, and you had the Black Canary, and then the sister becomes the White Canary, and I'm like, really? You couldn't think of a better name.
I was like, yeah, that doesn't. Yeah, nah, that doesn't have the same ring to it. That's spice.
Not quite. Let's move on to your final choice then. Character fully relevant for our chat today, but Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson. Who would you prefer to sit down and have a good chat over dinner with?
I would happy to have a chat with Samuel L. Jackson and get called an MF for an entire dinner, just to ask him about his entire filmography. You know, between him and Harrison Ford having like the biggest box office numbers, you know, and just picking his brain as an actor and like what's kept him going for so long. Which he's still no signs of slowing down.
That's fair.
Because he's about to obviously ramp up and get ready to do all the promotional material for the Marvels.
That's absolutely true. I mean, if I was having dinner with Samuel L. Jackson, there is one question that I would ask him.
Does he look like a bitch?
Would you ask him to recite the Bible verse?
It would be pretty good, to be fair.
In the name of the Lord.
And if I was having dinner with Nick Fury, it would definitely be more like...
I'm sorry, I don't want to get off on the wrong foot. Do I look at the pants or the eye?
Yeah, okay.
But so Samuel Jackson, I think that's a pretty solid choice, to be fair. There's a lot you can chat to him about. He seems to be having a lot of fun these days, just doing little projects that he wants to, rather than he's not trying to do any big Oscar parts in his old age or anything like that, is he?
No,
So,
which I think you said something like Oscar things aren't. Oh no, was that Tom Cruise? I think about it too. Oscar's not like that big. They're not chasing that. They're just chasing the fun of the film.
yeah.
Which I guess at that age you would.
I mean, yeah, he's come out and said, and he's like, I just want to have fun. I'm picking the parts I'm enjoying. It's not like he hasn't picked random parts throughout his entire career to do and have a bit of fun with. I mean, you don't do Snakes on a Plane to win an Oscar, do you? So it's...
No, but you think he's been in 3 major franchises. He's been in Jurassic Park. He's been in Star Wars. He's been in the Marvel. Like, it's just, a lot of major franchises. He's got his toes in that.
Kind of sometimes do forget he was in Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
I mean, it's very obviously old now. So yeah. Before he has a random arm flinging about the place. So. Well, that concludes our game this week for MCU or Real Life You. So we have an episode, a finale to discuss.
Yeah, we do.
Secret Invasion, episode 6, entitled Home. Man, this has been a divisive episode for so many people. I'm going to kick the bucket straight away and just say I have enjoyed this series from episode 1 to 5, and episode 6 I am not particularly happy with. The fact that Marvel seem to have this track record now of they start off a series with slightly longer episodes, 40, 45, even pushing to 50 minutes. And then as the series goes on, they seem to get shorter and shorter. This was 38 minutes with the credits, which cuts it down to about, 32 minutes or something like that. So, again, a short finale to a series. And to me, not particularly satisfying. And we are going to have a bit of a rant. We are going to obviously cover the good points of this series overall. Kick us off, though, Leigh. What were you thinking about this finale episode?
I have seen across the internet that has been quite decisive. Even Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a very low score. I think the lowest score of all Marvel TV shows at the moment. When it finished, I was okay. I was like, okay, that was all right. It could have been done more. And then probably about an hour later, I was a bit like, oh, no, maybe they could have really done a lot more. But I wasn't I will say the rating for it, the kind of the hate, I think is a little bit extreme.
Yeah, it does.
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, it's not. I'm like, don't get me wrong. I'm like, it could have been better, but it's not terrible. Like, it's not. This is an awful thing. How you could end a series? Like, it just hit the points that it need to progress the story, and you know, we even got like this is one thing I don't think a lot of people are talking about, but with Gravik, we finally got like a comic book accurate Super Scroll on the screen, jacked.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly what a Super Scroll looks like in the comics. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say it's definitely a good positive to it that we got that. To be fair,
And
it was one of the highlights.
That and definitely, and this is what I was going to say to you as well. Was like, well, if Gaia has Captain Marvel's powers, should she not also be entangled in the switcheroo?
Who knows? To be fair, we don't know what they've been thinking about whilst writing this episode. This episode itself is, in my opinion, caused a lot of issues with things previously happening in the MCU. They're changing things now and putting things out there and going, actually, things weren't what you thought it was, but we know that this has literally been rewritten for this. Those things weren't happening at that time. So, does she have the same power set in terms of entangled, or is it just the body's emulating the powers? And it's like, how does it all fucking work? Who knows? Anyway, like, how is their body part changing to suit one particular hero's DNA at that moment in time? It was definitely a weird scene, but it was funny and amusing and good at the same time.
Well, that's true. Well, one thing you got to look at is like no other being could have this shape-shifting powers. Like no one else could do that. Only the Skrull can do that. And it's funny actually. When I was watching that entire end scene, I'm like, okay, that was Gorg. That was Captain Marvel. That was Hulk. That was what's his name? He was the magician from Infinity War, which he didn't last too long. He went into space.
Oh God, why is his name just spit out my head now? I literally was talking to myself about it.
I want to say Kilgrave. It's not
Maul?
Kilgrave. No. Oh no, Maul.
One of the Black Order you're talking about.
Yeah, Maul. Yeah, it was Maul.
Maul. Yeah, for some reason his name's jumped out of my head. Maul is the only thing that's sticking in there, but so we got Cull Obsidian in there as well. Weirdly, Abomination and Ghost powers, even though they weren't at the Battle of Endgame. I'm guessing Fury has their DNA from other places.
Yeah. Well, yeah, must. I get. Well, as you would with Nick Fury, you would have blood of everybody. Not to mention, but look, don't get me wrong.
Ebony Moore.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
it. That's it. Ebony Moore. But I did like the conversation, even though it wasn't Nick Fury and Gaia. I did like the conversation, the back and forth between Gravik and Gaia Fury when they're in the chamber before they press the button. But as soon as he pressed the button, I was like, "Yeah, it's Gaia. Yeah, that's not Nick. That's not Nick. He's actually going after the president." But what was your initial feeling when the episode finished? And did it change with you thinking more about it?
I was just kind of a bit let down, to be fair. I didn't think it. The thing is, because they're changing so much in terms of they're changing who has been a Skrull and how long they've been like that in the MCU. So they're taking emotional moments between characters away from us. Right. I felt like the proper Fury and Gravik needed to have that face-off at the end. They needed to at least have a chat anyway, even if it was like just as Gravik's about to kill Fury, Gaia steps in and they have their battle because we knew that was coming. You don't kill the girl's parents and her not be part of the final battle against him. But to have that supposed emotional chat between Fury and Gravik, and then it turned out to be Gaia that's doing that. You're like, okay, did Fury tell her this is how he was feeling about the situation so she would know how to react? Yeah. Is this just her imitating Fury about what she thinks he should say? It's just, to me, it stripped, once you know that that's Gaia, once it's revealed that it's Gaia, it strips the emotional element out of it for me, because Fury and Gravik need to have that final chat, that final conversation to get the things off their chest. And it's just, Fury just doesn't even do it. He dismisses Gravik in that situation like he's done with the Skrulls for the last 30 years. Used and abused and put to the side, and he's like, nope, I'm going to go after Rhodey and the president instead. which, of course, was something that was needed to do to make sure they weren't nuking the Russians in New Skarlos. But at the same point, that left me a bit emotionally empty because it wasn't Fury and Gravik having that conversation, and it did need to be in there, I think.
I get what you mean. Like, there was really no emotional closure between the two characters, because he never speaks to him properly. But then again, you are right in saying, did Fury give her the full rundown before she went into this and be like, look, this is how he's going to act. This is what I'm going to talk about. That's
I think it's clear that at the end of the last episode, because everyone was debating, who was Fury on the phone to at the end of the last episode, and all the theories running wild. Was it Carol Danvers? Was it possibly Quake from Agents of Shield because she was so heavily rumored to be in the show? Who was it his wife? Who could it possibly be? And to me, it seems obvious now it's probably Gaia saying, "Right, we've got our plan. Let's get things into place." I think
Gaia.
he'd obviously given her a rundown of the different powers that she would be able to use once she was imbued with them. Otherwise, how would she know to use the like of ghosts or to use Mantis powers?
Yeah, Mantis,
for example.
Yeah, Mantis. So interesting.
Yeah, just the antennas actually grew out of her freaking head. I'm like, that was a bit weird. How would she have known about Mantis or Ghost otherwise? I don't think she would have done. So I think Fury had to have given her a rundown.
Yeah, 100%. Especially with everything you're about to get. Which I did see someone actually scroll through the screen and actually wrote out the list of all the powers they do have, of which DNA. Which now, the whole power struggle, the hierarchy of power in the Marvel universe has just changed.
This was going to be a question to you, is Gaia now the most powerful character in the MCU, given that she's got 20, 30, 40 different superhero powers inside of her?
I think she is. I 100% think she is. And with saying that, with the fact that now, because I know a lot of people are like, oh no, Emilia Clarke isn't going to have a big part in this, and blah, blah, blah. I have no doubt that now, because she has those powers, she will be in Secret Invasion, she will be at Kang Dynasty, and she will pop up again.
Without a doubt. She has to be fair.
Well,
you can't give someone that power set and then ignore them for the next 10 years.
No, but do you find it interesting that now that both two of the most powerful beings in the MCU have now about to go MIA? So Wanda's somewhere, and now Gaia's going to go somewhere.
It's interesting, to be fair.
Yeah. Wanda's not dead.
Although, no, definitely not. But here is a question that I saw someone raise, and maybe you can shed your own personal light on this. But we do see Scarlet Witch's name would appear on the computer as it's flashing through the different powers. Her powers doesn't come from her DNA; it comes from chaos magic. So, is that technically a power that could be given through DNA, or do you have to be able to, work with the chaos magic to use it? I was a little bit unsure about that because someone did bring it up, and I was like, "Oh, that is an interesting one." Could you technically get Scarlet Witch's powers by having a sample of her DNA like that?
I'm going to take a stab and say it will be a lot like Doctor Strange in the sense that you have her powers, but you have to study how to use them. It isn't going to just turn on like a switch and you suddenly can move mountains and everything. She actually has to learn how to use it because Wanda spent time learning how to use her powers, and then she got the book. So Gaia's has this plethora of powers. She's not gonna, well, you don't know, sit down and just teach and learn about Wanda's powers. Not when you can go from Abomination to the Hulk to Captain Marvel in just like that.
Yeah. Did it not look a bit jokey though when she put on Drax's arm? To me, that was quite. He's just like looking at it. It's just full normal Emilia Clarke, and then with the Drax arm. It was a bit weird seeing her with only one arm and one arm going invisible like that. So,
I thought that was a bit weird too. I loved that she defeated Gravik in typical Dragon Ball Z finish style of just power shot through the chest. I was like, that scene. I was a bit like, just blast his freaking chest. You know what? I'm done with this.
I did question slightly at that moment, and I'm probably not going to stick to this, but I did question: is Gravik truly dead? If he's got extremis that can repair the body, would a hole through his sternum or his stomach really kill him like that?
Uh,
I mean, this guy got shot half his face off a couple of episodes ago, and
mm,
it just heals almost instantaneously. And we saw in Iron Man 3 some of the extremist soldiers take some pretty hefty damage and their bodies be
mm,
repaired. So, bearing in mind the durability that these two characters would now have, given the different DNA inside them of the likes of Carol Danvers, Abomination, and Hulk, and various different other superheroes who have the ability to take a hit
to
as well as
heal.
heal, would he truly be dead at this moment?
Mm, maybe. I would say he is truly dead. It could very much be one of those things that, kill the heart, but the whole thing dies. But
Maybe, yeah.
Gravik was one of the high points is that he was such a good villain. Like he was such a good villain, and it's going to be so weird going to watch Barbie.
I was literally about to say I have a new theory that of the episode where, well, I think it was last week's episode, wasn't it, where the other Skrulls then attack Gravik and try and kill him. I think it's because they went to the cinema and saw his performance as Barbie, and were now so pissed off with him they're like, we've got to off this guy. Once you go and watch it, you'll know what I mean. So
Yeah. Oh wow! I'll keep that in mind. I just thought it was like, oh no, look, one of the Ken dolls is Skrull.
it was, yeah. Well, we won't talk about Barbie on the show. I'm not going to get into that one right now, to be fair. So,
Not the time.
I guess rounding off their sort of the whole Gaia and Gravik scene is once he's killed, she goes and shuts down all the machines that are keeping all the people trapped down there. And we get obviously the people that we've seen previously, some of the Skrull council people. We see Everett Ross obviously get released, which was something I was saying that we needed to see. What did were they keeping him? Obviously, we see Rhodey get freed as well, and what the director, and obviously the big question has been, how long has Rhodey been a Skrull?
Yes.
And the director has come out in the last couple of days and said, well, in that scene, Rhodey is wearing a hospital gown, just like he was at the end of Civil War. So, if this is saying that he's been replaced as a Skrull since the end of Civil War, and all his subsequent appearances, so everything from the Tony Stank moment at the end of Civil War, through to Infinity War, through to the heartbreaking death of Tony Stark, and him being there and seeing him physically face to face with that, he's actually been there for none of that. And what are you feeling about this?
See, here's the thing: is like I did see that, and I not saying it's lazy writing, but I don't think that's the case because obviously he's like, oh, because he's walking properly. I'm like, yeah, but remember in Avengers Endgame when he had to escape the Iron Man suit, he couldn't walk then. Remember he was crawling over everything, asking to help Rocket because he couldn't get up. So then I'm like,
It does feel like putting him as a Skrull any
it doesn't
earlier
make
than Endgame doesn't make sense, and it is slightly lazy just to give us a shock value.
Yeah, so I would say it's happened after Endgame. After Endgame, that's when he got nabbed.
I fucking hope so. Just because I didn't like the fact that Rhodey was going to be a Skrull in this TV series anyway. It was such an obvious choice, and it was such an obvious choice that it made it a bad choice for me. And then to do it any earlier than Endgame.
There was no one really else you could have bring in this entire environment to be a Skrull. That's the only thing. Because you couldn't get another Avenger or someone else. The only other person, we saw Everett Ross was a Skrull. So you couldn't really bring anyone else. The only other person would have been Maria Hill, but then her death wouldn't be as impactful.
I just think they could have written it differently to not have Rhodey as a Skrull. I mean, I'm not saying I have the answer right here, right now, as to who they could have had instead as a big reveal of a big character to be a Skrull. But at the same point, I think that they could have done better than that. And yeah, this episode has kicked up a lot for me in terms of, I think there's a lot of things they're stirring up now that when those characters have been in their previous films and previous appearances, it wasn't written with these people as being a Skrull in mind. And it's obviously something they've shoehorned in for this series. And it now brings into question a lot of emotional moments, a lot of character building moments as well, and gone, well, if it was a Skrull, then it wasn't really that person building their character, was it? So
No, but at the same time, this debate we're having right now is what they wanted.
True.
It creates conversation.
Absolutely.
But no, look right now. I'm just looking forward to seeing what Rhodey's going to do in Armor Wars. I'm wondering if, because of his experience just now, pushes him maybe to a little bit of a darker path in Iron Man and be like, no, Tony was right. We need a suit of armor around the world. I've been captured as a Skrull. We can't trust anyone now. We need to do something. Which I think would be a really good twist of his character. Because he obviously has been good for so long. Not saying, not him go full diabolical villain, but just something like that reason, like, you know what? Tony was right.
Do you think that maybe follows on from what the president does at the end of this episode? So he goes on TV and he basically declares all out war on all non-human species that come to the planet. So he's obviously put together a hit squad. They're going to go around and take out people that they know are Skrulls. And he's basically
people who aren't even Skrulls. They're getting killed.
I think they said that there was vigilantes were going out and killing people who they thought were Skrulls. Yeah. But turns out, I think we got, what was it, like the British Prime Minister? I think the real one was back on the screen giving a speech. She gets shot. So the real Prime Minister ends up getting killed. But to me, it just seems like after they would have known that a bunch of aliens helped them in the Battle of Endgame, defeat Thanos and his army, and it's not great that Skrulls have been in there taking over, but at the same time, they've had people there that have been trying to help stop this. So it seems like a bit of a dick move from the president to go, get off my planet, I'm going to hunt you down and kill every single one of you.
You just made me think of Harrison Ford. Get the hell off my planet. Look, but at the same time, it's a hard thing because it is a response. It's a natural response that you probably would do if you were in a position of power. You probably would be, you probably would be like, oh no, this has all happened. My best, my war general was a Skrull. Everyone, let's get rid of them. That's probably an active response. However, it could be held more delicately. So at the moment right now, which I just came to my mind right now, will this be the first act of the the Superhero Registration Act? Oh no, we already got that. That was the Sokovia Accords.
So, well, sort of, but that was more to oversee them rather than anything else, wasn't it? So
it's true. That's true. That wasn't really about registering. That was more having a government body.
It was having someone oversee them, and if you had powers, you had to register for it. But at the same point, it's an interesting point though, because we know we've got things like the X-Men coming into this universe, which is going to change things moving forward. And so, with the addition of the X-Men and mutants into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's a fair point. Is this going to be the start of where they go down that path towards a Superhuman Registration Act? I think that's a good shout, to be fair.
I was just saying, just then it makes sense for them to go down that road. And obviously, for anyone who's listening who doesn't know what that is, in the comic, if you've watched the first X-Men film, you understand, or in the comics, it becomes quite decisive, very on that verge of heroes and villains who don't register and who don't, and it's a big part of the Civil War comic, the actual Civil War comic,
which is one of the best comics out there. To be fair, for me personally, if you haven't read it, I seriously suggest you go and read it. It's nothing like the film, so don't expect it to be. But at the same point, it is one of the biggest events in Marvel comic history.
Yes, but at least they got the money shot in Civil War. I was happy they
did,
got the
yes.
money shot. I was like,
That
so
was
good.
one of the best parts of Civil War.
Yeah, I remember. I still remember the theater going, oh, "Are they going to do that? Are they going to do the cover?" And it looks so good.
I think I even had a big poster of it at the time as well, up in my room,
Yeah,
of that exact moment from the film, because I'm like, yes, that's what we needed. They knew what they were doing with that, so the fact that they snuck that in there it's a fantastic shot of Captain America defending himself with his shield whilst Iron Man fires at it with his repulsor blasts. It's a great shot, to be fair. That whole little sequence, actually, in Civil War, just whilst we're talking about it, in the film of, obviously, I think the music went so perfectly with it as well, where obviously Bucky's fighting Iron Man and he's looking to rip out the arc reactor and then central blast to knock off his obviously metal arm. And then, Cap sort of almost losing it a bit because he sees he's kicking Bucky's ass. He just runs at him and you get the sort of the repulsors off the shield. And the slow motion bit of it. It was fantastic. I still think Civil War's a really underrated film.
It is. Because I always remember saying to a bunch of friends is like, in that moment, it was not about a hero or villain. Because you fully understand what Iron Man's doing. You can't dispute it. Like, yes, it's in a heightened sense, but he says it perfectly. It's like, he's my friend. I don't care. He killed my mum. And you're like, you would act the same. You would do the exact same. You would do whatever you could to kill that person.
I think both characters' actions throughout the whole film are understandable. Iron Man's like, we've killed innocent people. We need someone to tell us when we're going too far. We need to have oversight at certain points. And we need to change things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got Cap there going, look, at the same point, I understand that side of things, but we can't do the things we need to do if that's happening to us.
Yeah.
And look, there's a bad guy off doing bad shit and you're not paying attention to it because your head's wrapped up in us being supervised. So I've got to go and do my thing. You do what you need to do. And if I've got to fight you to do what I think is right, obviously we know the whole point of Captain America is a bit self-righteous at times. In the fact that he's like, I can't
punch
look
you
away
in
from
your
things. I
perfect
have
teeth.
to do what's right. Exactly. He's like, I wish I could look away sometimes. He's like, no, you don't. And he's like, no, I don't.
Yeah. So underrated. But
I sometimes I just don't. The hype for it was amazing as well. I think just thinking back to it, I love the tangents we go on. By the way, whenever you're on,
so do I.
But I remember even because they were like, "Are you Team Iron Man or are you Team Cap?" And in some of the big Marvel groups I was in at the time on various different social media platforms, it stirred up that conversation, and it's just like everyone was like talking about it and like, "Oh, my Team Cap and my Iron Man," It was fantastic.
I remember all of that, and it's still one of those debates again. It was like with Thanos too. It was like he did have a point, which I do need to. You've just reminded me. I do need to buy the Thanos was right mug.
I'm just going to scroll it in the toilets at work. It's fine.
Yeah, well, exactly right. But no, I remember that. I remember all the posters that came out for Civil War, and the debate were going on because it made sense. It made sense on either side, so it wasn't like he's gone too far. No, so it all made sense. But getting back to Secret Invasion,
indeed, yes.
Well, did you at least like the moment between Priscilla and Nick?
Just about, yeah. It was.
Yeah.
It's these moments always come across a little bit cheesy, but at the same point, it was nice that they had an ending together because it was quite easy from the start of the episode when they had that phone call that Nick was maybe intending this to be a sort of last time phone call. He's like, I'm maybe not going to die. I'm not necessarily going to get out of this, so I need to just make sure you're okay and see you on your way, so to speak. So it was kind of nice that they had this moment at the end. We get that nice little drop that the Kree want to have peace talks.
Oh, I think that's bullshit.
Yeah, I was going to say I do not believe that for a minute, especially with what we've seen in the or maybe they do in the main villain from the Marvels trailer that we saw recently is a bit like is a bit like Ronan the Accuser, and he's like, he's a fanatic. She's a fanatic. She's doesn't follow the same path as the Kree and wants to put an end to the Skrulls and to anyone that stands in their way. And
True.
who
True,
knows?
actually,
But
yeah.
But yeah, there was a nice moment between them, and they go up to the stage. She finally gets to live in her own skin, and she's like, "Hey, my name's Vara, not Priscilla. Get it right." And they get to go up to the ship together for a while. I know in one of the Marvel shots in the background we saw some Skrulls, so I don't know whether she'll be in the Marvels or not alongside Nick on the space station, but I don't see why we don't get to see her again. Obviously in the future.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I'm sure we'll definitely see her in Marvels, probably a cameo or like a little bit tidbit.
So I mean, even if it's the background. Speaking of like, I don't know why it just popped in my head, but speaking of a cameo, do you not find it strange that Gaia's mum, Soren, I think her name was, killed off screen for this series, and it's used as a motivational factor that Talos tells Gaia that Gravik killed her, and Gaia doesn't know this, and it's part of her motivation to then maybe finally turn against Gravik and obviously rejoin with her father. A bit random that a character that was kind of, around in obviously the first Captain Marvel film and would maybe have expected to have been in this one at some point, that just killed off screen like that.
Interesting, we didn't see her death at all, or like a small little flashback. I'm kind of sad that Talos has died. Like, I did like his character.
Yeah.
And I was fully expecting him to be in Marvels too. However, spoiler, he ain't. He ain't going to be there at all. So, yeah, it's kind of a lot has happened in this series. Of
Yeah.
2 Skrulls are dead. Gravik's dead. We have a new character, Gaia, but Maria Hill's dead.
It's weird with Maria Hill's death as well, because when we look back at the series as a whole, it was there as a dramatic end to the opening episode. But apart from that, I mean, we have obviously in the following episode, we had Nick's conversation with her mum, where she was like, blaming him because she would, Maria Hill would follow him to the gates of hell. And she's like, well, go out there and sort this out then for her. But after that, basically her death had no mention. It had no real influence on the rest of the series.
No.
So it was a bit random, her death. I like sometimes random deaths. I think I've spoken a lot on this podcast as I hate sort of martyr deaths or self-sacrificing deaths. And sometimes, because in war, in situations, sometimes you just get killed. It's not glamorous. It's not done for a particularly good reason. Sometimes you're just shot or you just get killed. So in a way, to me, it was a good thing that they had a big character like that die off in the series. But at the same point, you expect it maybe to have an influencing factor on characters for the rest of the series. And beyond the first half of the second episode, it didn't.
No. But was the second episode where he's sitting on the park bench and he really looked defeated?
Something around that time.
Yeah, so I think around for about there. I think he also looked like he was really in about her death. But it's kind of sad that Maria Hill's dead because she's been there since Avengers 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they can't live on forever, but
yes, they can. Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
So what did you? Sorry, Karen.
No, it's all right.
I was going to change the subject. It's okay.
No, it's all right. Keep going.
What I was going to say is, like, Gravik's plan as this situation and this series goes on seems to he wants to. At the start, it's very clear that he wants to basically get rid of humans and he wants to take over the planet.
Very dramatic.
And towards the end, it seemed to start changing more to the fact that he wanted this harvest DNA to up himself. Whether how much of his plan was to use it for the others as well. So everyone has I know he said that to the council. We're like, everyone's going to have a superpower. All of us are going to be super Skrulls and we can change it. But I swear to God that the more and more this series went on, the less of a plan he sort of really seemed to have.
12%. 12%?
So it just seemed that like he only had part of a plan.
Well, I think his plan was indeed. I think because Nick Fury obviously kept stopping his plan for the harvest grew bigger. I was very surprised at that. I will admit I was surprised that the harvest was kind of real. I thought he was maybe going to give him like a dummy, and then it'd kind of be like, oh no, and if you'd be like, at the end, it'd be like, no one's ever getting this. But no, you actually did have all their blood, and I did think, I was like, there would have been so much blood on that battlefield. Oh, there would have been so much blood.
Because they were like, oh, it's literally every single hero on that battlefield bled.
Yeah, you'd be scraping that off into like a giant tray.
It's like, how many people collecting did they have out there in the mass of that?
Yeah.
And did they pick up any ashes? Any ashes get mixed in with that after Savage's army? So,
well, that's true. Gallons of the stuff.
It's just very random that they managed to get from every single hero, every single one person bled on there. Yeah. So, like, does she, like, her, Gravik and Guy, like, literally, how many powers do they have? Do they literally have every single hero that was out there's power? Do they have Asgardian powers? Do they have Spider-Man powers? Like, just do they have Hawkeye powers? Whatever Hawkeye's power happens to be.
He's deaf. The power of deafness. But yeah, exactly right. Like, is that much? But with all those powers, why is it going to be moving forward? And when are we going to see Gaia again?
This is the interesting question, isn't it? I mean, I proposed last week that that maybe Sonya would reappear in Thunderbolts.
I liked Sonya's character. I didn't.
She was amazing. She was amazing. Highlight of the series for me. Yeah. One of the highlights of the series. Olivia Colman did a great job. She seemed to like have serious fun doing this particular role.
You could tell she just had fun.
Yeah, and this basically like super happy, chipper British spy who's absolutely brutal at the same time. And even you get that in a conversation with Gaia at the end, and she's just like, "Oh, so are you appearing to me as a friend to help me?" And she's like, "Oh, absolutely not. Don't be so stupid."
No. No, I'm going to use you and you're going to use me.
So, and they get that reveal of obviously they go to some secret base somewhere where it looks like Gravik and the other Skrulls have been basically. It looked to me like under the like sort of weird map things they had on top of them that had the same sort of brain thing going on as the others. So, is this the extent? Because let's face it, the amount of Skrulls we see at New Skrullos does not really add up to 1 million.
No,
that are supposedly on Earth. So the fact that there's this really big room that would have had, by the look of it, thousands or hundreds, if not thousands, of pods in there. That there are, out of 1 million Skrulls, thousands of them out there pretending to be other humans. So looks like maybe they're like, well, our work's cut out, so we've got to find all these Skrulls, and they're either going to turn and be part of Gaia's sort of crew that she's going to be leading, or they're like, you're going to get fucking killed because the Americans are after you anyway.
Yeah, so stick with me.
So it's going to be interesting to see what these two do moving forward, whether we see them together, whether they just pop up separately. I would like to see Sonya in Thunderbolts. I think she could have a role to play in that.
Yeah, I could see her probably up in Thunderbolts, 100%. Probably could see her in Captain America.
Captain America.
I could see her popping up in that too. Apparently, Captain America is meant to be like the closest to an Avengers closest to an Avengers movie.
Well, didn't they say that the amount of cameos and extra characters in this is literally second only to Endgame and Infinity War?
Something like that, yeah. Because you even got, I think, Liv Tyler, who hasn't been in the MCU since The Incredible Hulk.
Yes, yeah, she's going to be in it. Obviously, because we're getting the leader as well from that film. Now he's in his proper comic book alter ego.
Yes, which The Incredible Hulk is finally on Disney Plus.
So it's going to be. I really hope we see a lot more of Sonya moving forward. A great character. Now she's head of the Spy Network as well for the UK. I'd love her in charge of the Spy Network over here. So that would be great to see her in new stuff moving forward.
Yes, I think one of the big things that people can take away from this show is, yes, a few people have died, but we do have some great characters coming forward into the MCU, which they've come into it, which I think will be fantastic. and it's just going to be very curious to see where they're going to pop up next and what impact they're going to have. As with Sonya, Gaia, Nick Fury, I still think Nick Fury will die at some point, but he is going to have a massive death. It's going to be something like Kang appearing and just wiping him out because he's talking shit to him. And then that's how it ends.
Yeah. I had him pegged for a death in Kang Dynasty because there's going to be some people that die in that film. I basically said that I think a lot of the older Avengers and any that are still sort of like hanging on with their character, floating around the MCU, but aren't necessarily appearing in anything anymore. Like, whether it's going to be Nick Fury, Hawkeye himself, a couple of others that are just sort of hanging on, but they're not going to be doing anything with the character anymore. Or maybe if they're wanting to recast them. So I think, someone like Nick Fury's primed for death in Kang Dynasty. It was either, like you said, that he's just one of those people that just looks like he's going to stand up to Kang, and then Kang's like, no, thank you very much, and just kills him instantaneously.
Wipes him out right
there.
Or
during that film, he has one big last moment and leads what's left of the Avengers at that point.
Yeah, he finally gets to say, motherfucker.
And, that bugged me in this finale. So sorry, I keep getting triggered with things going to my head. Yeah, I think it was during that chat with Gaia and Gravik when she's pretending to be Fury, and he was like, that the last thought I had when I was being dusted was that I was relieved that it was all over and that I didn't have to fight anymore. And this is where it kind of bugs me that this is where this isn't Fury saying this, or it's just lazy writing. Because at the end of the day, when we see him getting dusted at the end of Infinity War, his last thought is, thank God this is all over. He's got his special pager out and he's contacting Captain Marvel. And he's just like, motherfucker. And so he cares about being dusted, that he was about to be wiped out. So again, it's just whether it's the writing of this or the fact that it wasn't Fury getting to have that conversation with Gravik, that pissed me off a little bit.
When he was saying that, I did think to myself, I'm like, it does make sense because he has been through a lot. So for him to finally go, isn't out of the realm. But you're right, the scene in the movie doesn't add up. If his scene was like, for example, like Thanos, if he was like sitting and then watching this go, oh. That would make more sense, but no, he's literally scratching around for his bag and everything, and it's like, oh, motherfucker. Like, it doesn't add.
Does not compute. It's just, this is why this episode slightly narked me a little bit. It's simply because it's either lazy writing or they just haven't really understood the emotional moments that have come before, and they're sort of trying to rewrite them to mean something different now.
Yeah, but I do think that this show is still overall, probably besides the ending, is still top tier Marvel. Like, it's still been one of the better MCU Disney Plus shows, and I don't feel like it should be as thrown away as what people are saying because of the final. I'm like, yes, that was just the final, but what about all the good that we've just been talking about for the past 6 weeks?
Absolutely. I wasn't lying when I said I was a fan of the first 5 series of the first 5 episodes of this series. It's definitely one that I've really enjoyed. I think it's been interesting and good to throw this whole sort of seed of doubt out there of you can't really know who is who and you can't trust anyone around you. And that sort of is pushed home in this final episode a bit with the president and Rhodey and the whole scenes at the hospital, where the president still doesn't know who to trust at that moment because he's got Sonya and Fury there telling him he's a Skrull, and the president's like, I just don't know. Like, Rhodey, is this true? And he's like, of course it's not true. And it's like, of course you'd fucking say that, wouldn't you? So, stop the nuke and we can chat about this.
Yeah.
And then, shot in the head. See you later, Scrody.
Scrody. Yes. That is on a shirt. That is a shirt word.
What you should have is a T-shirt with Scrody on it, and then it's the Skrull head on top of the War Machine armor.
Yes. So print it, dude. Print it. Make money. But just
getting
make sure
there
it's
first.
just different enough that Marvel won't come after you.
Oh God, yeah, as if Marvel have any interest in suing me whatsoever. Take
Uh,
all the £10 I've got on my bank account. It's fine.
yeah, do it. I dare you.
So, give us your final thoughts on this series. Then, I know you just gave us a little bit then, but despite us like bitching
Ripping
about
into
this
it.
particular final episode,
Yeah, really.
the series as a whole.
My final thoughts on the series is that they had a goal, they had a vision what they want to do with this series, and I think they nailed it. I'm 100% glad that we got a Nick Fury centric. I'm glad we got layers from Nick Fury of his background, his life. I'm glad we've got that. It was good seeing the scrolls. We got a super scroll,
Yeah,
which I think was awesome. Overall, I think it was great. Yes, editing does leave a little bit left desired for, and it will most likely be again fully debated as every single Disney Plus show comes out moving forward, as what we've done since WandaVision. However, could have been a little bit better at the ending, 110%. However, with that in the bag now, it leads us straight on to Loki season 2, which will have no doubt will be an absolute banger.
I cannot wait for that. And then, just as a little non-Marvel treat in between, we get Ahsoka as well.
Which we do, which I think is so. I think 2 episodes of Ahsoka bleed over to Loki.
One episode now, because they announced it was going to be a 2-episode opener for Ahsoka series. Which has pulled it down, thankfully, to 1. But it does mean that the finale of Ahsoka and the start of Loki happen in the same week.
Oh, shit. I'm glad you actually tell me that, because now I have to go check my schedule.
That's what I looked at. In fact, let me just double check it while we're here.
Yeah.
I don't want to give you any wrong information, but I'm pretty sure when I looked at my schedule and readjusted it, because they did say, 2 episodes are dropping on opening day for Ahsoka.
Oh, shit.
Which then cut it down to the fact that it would only be 1 week crossover instead of 2.
Yeah. No, I didn't know that.
Where is my schedule? Yep. So Ahsoka episode 8 and Loki season 2 episode 1 happens in the same week.
Oh, shit.
Which is anything a little bit better, because I've mentioned before that when I was looking at my schedule, the fact that the finale of Ahsoka, episode 2 of Loki, and Kraven the Hunter were all originally going to be in the same week.
That's right, yeah. Well, actually, no, that's 3 things I've got to change now. I've got to change the Ahsoka, I've got to change the Loki, actually, that's 4 now, sorry. Got to change Ahsoka, Loki, Kraven, and Ghostbusters.
God, yeah. But a little bit of relief for us, maybe, as us podcasters, that we don't have to cover so much in 1 week.
I was fully expected almost turning Ahsoka or Loki final into its own episode. I'm like, that would be too long trying to cover all 3 in one go.
Although, to be fair, we do get the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka and Blue Beetle in the pretty much the same week or so, I think.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I forgot about that.
I'm quite looking forward to Blue Beetle, to be fair.
Yeah, it looks like a fun time.
Yeah. The trailer looked pretty decent, but how hyped are you for Ahsoka?
Very, very hyped for Ahsoka.
Tell your face then, man. What is wrong with you? I know you're ill, but come on.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for Ahsoka. I'm just excited to dive into this world. I love the Mandalorian world. I love the Mandalorian world, or the Mandoverse, if you will. I love all that. So it's going to be so much fun diving into this world after we just got the Mando season 3, and see Ahsoka in all of her glory, and not to mention we can see Hayden Christensen back as Anakin Skywalker.
I am so I just can't wait to see Anakin back. Anyone who knows me I'm a huge Anakin / Vader fan. Half the stuff that sits behind me, this side of me, if you're watching the video, is Anakin and Vader, and 501st as well. So maybe I'm hoping we're going to get a Rex appearance in there somewhere.
I'm hoping he's going to appear for at least 2. Like, I hope it's not. I hope it's going to be something similar to, in like the Obi-Wan Kenobi when he was having that flashback fight, and that kind of lasted over like 2-3 episodes. Yeah, and they were fighting each other. I'm hoping it'll be kind of like that 2 or 3 episodes where she keeps having flashbacks of different points.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got 8 episodes. There's plenty of room to fit Anakin in for a bit. Don't need to just have like a 5-minute cameo appearance as a flashback and then gone.
Yeah.
So,
Not to mention, they mentioned enough in the trailer. I feel like every 2 minutes it was like, I'm not here to talk about my master. Oh, Anakin said this, or Anakin said that.
I mean, a couple of things to pull out the trailer and see your thoughts on. The whole potential rumor now that Sabine is going to be force sensitive because she calls Ahsoka master in an episode. I just took that as the fact that Ahsoka had been trying to train her better. I know that Kanan in the Rebel series trained Sabine to fight with the Darksaber. I just took it to the fact that Ahsoka was trying to train Sabine a bit more. Now that she was getting a bit older, I thought if she was going to be force sensitive, that would have come out in Rebels.
I think so. But you remember, this is still Dave Filoni, so it's still his baby.
The guy cannot move on from the characters he created, can he? So, I
No.
love his enthusiasm and his knowledge for a particular bit of Star Wars, but it also seems that he can't move on from the own characters he's created. He has to keep revisiting them and pulling them back in.
Well, I don't mind. I don't mind because they're semi-new characters. There's semi-new characters that we're getting for the first time in live action, which I'm pretty sure I think Dave Filoni says this is Rebels Season 4.
Yeah.
So,
But live action Thrawn,
I'm
hyped.
I'm hyped. I'm just worried about the CGI. I'm just worried because obviously he's very blue, whatever.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. In the glimpse that we saw in the trailer, he looked all right, but I thought, how's that going to look in a longer scene? Is it going to be too jarring?
Are you in line with these people that say that it looked like a blue Elon Musk?
Oh my god, he does too. Holy shit. Yeah, he does too, yeah. Elon Musk wants to take over But hey, in SpaceX to Twitter X.
Yeah. I think probably the reason I'm most hyped about Thrawn, which is probably the reason why I'm slightly not hyped about some of the other returning characters, is the fact that Lars Mikkelsen is returning to play Thrawn, who voiced him in Rebels. So we're getting the voice from Rebels into live action for Thrawn. And then in the most recent trailer for Ahsoka, obviously we had the actress who's playing Hera. We heard her speak for the first time and stuff like that, and it just doesn't quite match up because it's not the same voice and it's not maybe done the same way. And so therefore it's a bit hard sometimes when you've had a series that is well loved like Rebels, and you're familiar with those voices and you're used to it, and then it's coming over to live action and it's not quite going to be the same. I think Rosario Dawson always gets away with it because it's an older Ahsoka. It's 15 years or so on, and the voice sounds a bit more matured, and that maybe works okay for the Ahsoka character. But from hearing Hera...
Do you think the actress will have a cameo? The chick that does the voice of Ahsoka?
Oh, Ashley Eccleston.
Yeah. I could see having a cameo.
I don't see why not, yeah. I mean, they gave one to, what's it in Mandalorian? They gave one to Matt Lanter, who voiced Anakin in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Obviously, Sam Witwer's had a secret appearance in, in Andor.
Oh, did he?
He played one of the shore troopers. You know the scene where he gets arrested when he's on the beach planet before he's sentenced and sent to the prison. One of the shore troopers apparently was Sam Witwer.
Okay.
So they have little appearances here and there from some of the voices. So it would not surprise me at all if they gave her a little cameo somewhere.
A little nod.
Just somewhere sat at a bar and you just hear a little voice or something.
Yeah.
Or it wouldn't surprise me if maybe if they had some dream flashback sequences of her and Anakin together, if they let her do the voice.
True, yeah. An old voice, or an old conversation between her and Anakin.
I'll tell you who I am really looking forward to seeing more of in the Ahsoka series.
Yeah.
Chopper. Give me more Chopper. Give me the murder bot, man. Give me the murder bot. I want to see him in his full glory.
Oh, we're gonna get it.
I can't wait to see Chopper, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yep, Rebel Season 4. That's on its way on the 23rd of August.
Let's go.
But Leigh, thank you so much for coming on. You've been a trooper because we previewed Secret Invasion together. You jumped on at the last minute as my saviour a couple of weeks ago. And I obviously had originally invited you back to come back and review Secret Invasion as a whole. Give it a rating for me out of 10. We know this last episode has had some low scores, but the series as a whole, when you put it all together, has generally been good. I think
7.
we both agree on that. So 7 out of 10?
Yeah, I think 7 out of 10.
I think that's probably about fair.
Yeah. You?
Yeah, I think that 7 out of 10 is probably quite fair. I've really enjoyed it. We know that the last episode's let it down slightly. Or for me, anyway, I've bitched and moaned the entire episode about this.
It's all right. It's fine, man.
I need to calm down. I need to have a hot chocolate, and I need to go to bed.
I need to
let it out my system.
I need to pump some pills into me.
Just to be clear, that's because he's ill and he's just woken up. But it's
because I'm sick for anyone listening.
Nothing to do with the fact that the finale episode is turned into to be a hardcore drug addict all of a sudden.
Ecstasy won't fix all that, or cocaine.
Well, first thing in the morning, maybe the cocaine, but that's for a different...
or an Irish coffee.
Let's get on the Irish. Just coffee in general for the younger ones out there. You don't need to be doing any of this.
No.
But no, thank you seriously for coming on so much.
You're welcome, and I cannot wait for you to come on to Lights Camera Rant and we talk about Ahsoka.
Yes, I cannot wait for that. I'm super stoked because everyone knows at the end of the day, Star Wars is my number one. So to be able to chat anything Star Wars, I'm going to be super excited to do that with you.
Yeah,
but
can't wait for it, man. Can't wait.
Tell everyone at home where we can find you.
As always, you can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Kick, Facebook. Just type in Lights
Threads.
Yeah.
The thing that everyone forgot about literally 3 days after it was brought out.
Yeah, pretty much. The only thing I liked about Threads compared to Twitter was that it didn't automatically import from Instagram. You didn't have to go onto a new platform and re-follow every person. But now, I think pretty much Threads is dead.
But essentially, you can catch Leigh and the Lights Camera Rant podcast everywhere, literally everywhere. There is nowhere where you can hide from it. There's nowhere that you can run from it. And to be fair, if you've not heard it before, go and listen because Leigh has one of the best intros of any podcast. I've told him before, I fucking love the intro of his podcast. The guy that he got to do is the voice and everything is absolutely perfect. And it just gets you excited to listen to the start of the episode. So
thanks, man. I do appreciate it. And I always liked your intro too. This is a little bit different, but I do like yours too. But no, thank you again, man, for inviting me on. It's always been a pleasure, and I will always raise my hand up whenever you need a guest.
I absolutely appreciate that, and obviously one day you will regret that. So that's
right.
when it gets to the end of the year and you've been on 10 times because people keep bailing on me, it's absolutely fine. You'll be sick of me, absolutely sick of me by then. So
you have more episodes of me than episodes of Solo.
Welcome to the Andy and Leigh podcast.
Yeah, they kind of just formed.
But I really appreciate it. I will be back next week with a special presentation episode. It's just going to be a short episode. It's just going to be a really short 20-minute episode just talking about one thing in particular that came out just at the start of the SDCC Comic-Con that I was just really excited to talk about and wanted to jump on with someone. So I've got David from the Why So Sidious podcast. He jumped on with me and we had that little conversation. So that'll be out next week. And until then, go listen to Leigh's podcast. Make sure you're giving both of us a like, a follow, and a review online. And until
100%.
next time, I will see you later. Take care.
See you guys.